Everybody, welcome to I Am Devoted. I created this channel just to kind of talk to people and make sure that they're devoted to their dreams and goals. And so I wanted to interview people that are already devoted. And I got here Dion and Mike. They're the creators of Tangentlemen. It's a new podcast. Guys, can you just introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Dion Brown, one half of the Tangentlemen. And so our podcast is entitled The Tangentlemen Present Here's My 2 Cents.
I'm going to do my official drop.
So go ahead.
I'm not your boy yet, but soon I will be.
all right.
UTO swabbing like the soap, you know what I mean? My name is Mike Pierce.
All right, nice to meet you guys. And how did y'all come up with the name Tangentlemen?
I called this guy one day. I was home for Thanksgiving break. I was talking with my mom, and I was talking about the podcast, and then something just hit me. I was like, we're tangential. When we have our conversations, we kind of switch from topic to topic.
That's smart.
And we strive to be gentlemen. And then we always ask ourselves, like, being men, black men in this society, what does that mean for us?
Yeah.
And so we just combined the two.
Man, that's awesome. And I know we're here right now at VCU, and both of you guys are grad students here, correct?
Right.
What made you guys want to start this podcast now?
I think it just kind of came together. Like we met in the program. There's not too many black men in the program, in the graduate program. And we just found ourselves having a lot of conversations about music, about black culture, about relations between men and women. And, people started putting that bug in our ear, like, y'all should think about doing a podcast. And, a lot of people have conversations amongst their friends, and it's like,
they talk about something, they don't really go all the way through with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, you feel like it's important, but I guess some people don't really have that encouragement to, like, push it forward. So we kind of had that encouragement from friends, and
good.
Our conversation started like right here in Commons. Like, we rented out a little tape recorder and started recording ourselves, and got familiar with equipped the audio studio. And next thing you know, we were in there recording and just testing things out. So
see how it goes. And so far, y'all been doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I know I was talking to y'all before we started recording just about taking advantage of using your school's resources, because I know a lot of people might be in college or high school or wherever right now and think that, hey, I want to start a podcast or I want to start something up. Well, do that while you're in school, because you can use, you can use the resources available to you. And
exactly.
I think y'all are very smart for doing that right now. It was a really wise decision.
Thank you.
As far as what you guys podcast, what type of topics do you like to talk about?
We get into a lot. For the most part, everything that is relevant to black culture.
Okay.
And black culture is not, a homogenous thing. Like, there's a whole bunch of different experiences. So we'll talk about men in relationships with women. We'll talk about allyship as being men. We'll talk about religion and how that's so prevalent in the black community, and how do we balance.
And that's big.
Being socially active with also like having conservative views with religion. A wide range of topics.
Man, that's awesome. And I just want to talk about, like, how do you actually start a podcast up? Like, for the people that don't know how to get started with it, what would your advice be on that end?
I think we kind of already touched on it in the sense of, for number one, like, use your resources.
Yes.
For us, it was as simple as, hearing about resources around campus, and you simply just have to, for us, we just had to go to orientation.
Okay.
Mike went to the orientation, shout out to him, and got familiar with equipment that was needed. So we found out what was needed, but thankfully, like, being here at this location,
it was all here. Good.
But I think you need to know, like, you would need to, like, research equipment if, unfortunately, you don't have these resources in order to start it up. What else do you need? I know you're you listen to a lot of podcasts before me.
You need an identity as podcast hosts, and with us, our identity as the Tangentlemen, we pride ourselves on, like, not taking content from other people and, like, truly sticking to what our brand is. So our brand is representing that we don't know everything. and we're growing.
That's real. That's authentic, though.
Yeah.
And I feel like people can relate to that. 100% sure.
Right.
And I feel like, at least definitely in the past 5 years, more people, like when they're just driving to work or whatever, they'll listen to more podcasts now than like the actual radio station. Like obviously people are gonna listen to their phones and all of that stuff too. But podcasts have really taken over, I feel like, with just like drives and trips.
Yeah.
And can you talk to me just about some of the benefits you think you can have like listening to a podcast versus just listening to the radio?
Yeah. Man, that's a good question.
Because I feel like I know the initial thing I think of is just you can learn something. You know what I'm saying? Like music, obviously you probably heard the song before. You're not really learning anything. With podcasts, I feel like obviously you can go to whatever genre you want to go to and you can actually learn something. But I guess y'all can add on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're both mental health researchers, right? So we're both in psychology, grad school, counseling, developmental. And we always talk about like mindfully doing things. And in our culture, we don't mindfully do things. So mindfully listening to a podcast while you're driving is a great way to attend to whatever you need to attend to.
Yeah.
How many times are you driving and you listening to music and all of a sudden you like right in your house, you're like, dang, how'd I get here this fast?
Exactly. No, that's true. That's real. That's real.
So when you're listening to a podcast, it's like you're attending to it and you're reflecting on some of the things that the people are saying. And hopefully taking something away from it.
Yeah. And I think, like you touched on, I think with music, a lot of times we get caught up, and I guess this applies for radio too. We listen to the same things, and so with podcasts, I guess it's kind of like it's genres like music. You can go select the genre, and I guess you can just, depending on people's different podcast structure, you can get like an in-depth conversation on a specific topic of interest. It's really dependent on what topic you're interested in, and so if podcasts are labeling them appropriately, hopefully they are, then you can just go and look it up. And so I guess this also doubles back to your last question about what you need. You also need a platform, whether that be SoundCloud, whether that be Apple Music. I don't think, getting on Apple, I don't think it was too hard. We just kind of had to submit like a request to like be reviewed to be on the Apple Podcast app. I'm sure there's a number of other ones as well, but you need a platform so you can put your material out
so it can be heard.
Yeah, and I think that's getting easier nowadays, just with streaming and things like that. Like these podcasts can come right to your phone. So I think the biggest benefit over radio is probably just the specialization like you can get from focusing in on a specific topic.
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
And now, as far as you guys are both here for school, like that's the main thing. What can you talk more about, like your majors or just your? I know you're in grad school. Just talk about like what you're trying to do with your schooling,
right?
And how that ties into your podcast. Like, cause I'm pretty sure just with what you're doing as far as your work, it ties in perfectly with this.
Right. I guess I'll start off. So as Mike mentioned, I'm in a developmental psychology doctoral program.
Okay.
And so what I study is parenting and how parents teach their children about emotions and black families in particular. And so the podcast, it kind of originated from topics that weren't as tied to school because for me, a big part of doing this podcast was kind of establishing an identity outside of academics.
Good.
And
it's hard to do, man.
It is.
It's like I feel like at 18 you come into a new man, and like 21, and now I'm 25. It's just like you forever evolving and trying to find like who you are as a man. Yeah, that's real.
And so academics has been so like pivotal to me like my whole life. And so when a lot of people may not know, like I'm big into like music and entertainment, and I'm passionate about black culture, and so I saw the podcast as an opportunity to broaden my identity beyond academics. But then again, like we can't really take away our perspective of being, like as Mike mentioned, mental health researchers, and just being in the field of psychology, that brings a different approach to a podcast in itself. And I know it's becoming particularly popular as well, but we also do our best to implement academics, and we have like a segment, it's called Bridging the Gap. And one thing about being in a graduate program and doing research is like a lot of times the research we're doing is not always reaching the people who need it the most.
Wow, okay.
It's just reaching other academics, and it's like,
I got you.
how do these people who need it the most, how do
actually
they get
receive it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Okay.
So like
that's big, yeah.
it's accessible. So
wow.
that's one way we tied it back in.
Yes,
that's big.
Yes.
And what would you say on that point, Mike?
Well, just regarding what he said, there's nothing else to add to that. I mean,
for real though.
Perfectly. That's exactly what it is. Like we had conversations about. All right, well, in academia, we don't always want to be snotty and stuck up and talk to other people in academia with this language that we use. How do we get back to our community? Like our community is so important to us. So podcasts and having real conversations. Like we don't go into the bridging the gap segment using these big fancy scholastic words. Like we just keep it real. We talk about how we refer to certain things in our community because that's how we identify with it.
Man, that is awesome. Now, since we're on the channel, I am devoted. I want both of y'all just to give me a background of what you think devotion means to you and some of the things that you're devoted to in your own lives.
I guess devotion, one of the first things that came to mind was like sacrifice. So thinking about where I am now, where we are now, and just applying it to the podcast. I mean, we're in school, so that means, in order for us to do a podcast that, there's no payment, there's no like, this is like extra
y'all just
credit
hustling
for a class.
right now.
Yeah,
we just ads, nothing. We don't do none of that.
We're just doing it, so it takes sacrifice. Like
yes.
we had to. Like we were just saying on one of our previous episodes, we remember like last year around this time, FaceTiming each other at home, like talking about like what are the topics gonna look like. The title, Tangentlemen present. That wasn't always the title, but it came together. So devotion means, like, to me, it means sacrifice, and
that's big. That's real.
Yeah,
I like that.
I would definitely say we've been devoted to, sacrificing our time for this podcast, and just, it might be small. Like I know one of my friends, they just did their 100th episode of the podcast, and so, I went to their event. They had a live recording, and I'm looking at it like, I want to get there one day, but like to look back on the semester, a busy semester it was, as busy as it was, and say, we stayed devoted to meeting at least once a week or every other week to record, and it's a team, so we always are communicating. It's like nothing really goes by each other like without like I gotta run it by him because this is our brand as we know it right now. So I would say that's one thing that I've been devoted to, but then also in school, a lot of people. It's very rare to go and get a PhD. Like it's not very common. I think I remember at orientation they get listing off the statistics. They was like, y'all are weird in a sense that y'all want to go on and continue in school for this long.
I don't know if I could have did it. I commend y'all though. I commend y'all because we need it though.
Yeah,
definitely, black men, we definitely need that. So I commend y'all on that.
So yeah, I appreciate it, and so I would say that's definitely something I'm devoted to, and I think you said something about what we want to do with like our schooling and things like that.
Yeah.
My last thing before I let Pigo go is as of now I would say I want to teach, teach at a university level, and but also I want to be able to translate these things that I'm studying to the communities that need it most. Kind of why we do something like a podcast, but of course that may look totally different at a different stage of life, but this is something that's tangible right now.
And I'm about to say, this is what you're doing right now, so you should be 100% invested in devoting into this. And it could bring about something 5-10 years later that has nothing to do with this, but did have something to do with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's great. You can go ahead. I just want you to tell me, too, some of the things you're devoted to and what devotion means to you.
Word. Devotion to me is perseverance. So thinking of, like, having a goal, as you was talking about, and then at what cost am I going to, what sacrifice am I going to make to get to that goal?
Yes.
Finding people that can support you along the way, like that's devotion to me. Some things that I'm devoted to, obviously, as you mentioned, school.
Yeah.
Definitely my family. Like when I think about why do I wake up every day, it's my family. Like that's just like it's a blessing to be in a great family, the family that I have. Shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? but
always.
It's just a beautiful thing, man. Like sometimes when it gets hard, which it does get hard. We don't have as many listens as we would hope for, or when we can't get the studio booked, and we have to push off for another week, and we got people hitting us like, where's the content?
Yeah, we was looking for y'all, which is a blessing in itself.
It's a blessing, but it's also hard, and sometimes it's stressful. But the devotion piece is like recognizing that people are looking forward to this content.
Yes, and people need it, even because it could be people out here right now that don't know anything about Tangentlemen, but they will eventually, so they could go back to listen to some of those old ones and catch something from it.
Yep.
Right. So that's good. That's good.
Exactly. So just getting it out there, having our content out there, and as you said, like there's a reference point for us somewhere. And even when we have normal conversations, we'll talk about whatever, like dating or something. We'll have a conversation about an old episode. Like, oh, remember we said on Benefit of the Doubt Brown?
Yeah.
That's one of his nicknames.
Okay.
And we'll just have that conversation that we had on air, and it's great because there's a reference point to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going back in a book or something like that.
Exactly.
Like citing a book.
Exactly. No, that's so good. Now, lastly, I just want to get you all to talk. How can people watch or listen to Tangentlemen? Like, what platform are you guys on?
Right. Our biggest one is probably SoundCloud.
Okay.
So you can just type in, here's my 2 cents, which, is a very common phrase, but we think that Tangentlemen is what makes it stands out.
Yes.
Full name, Tangentlemen presents, here's my 2 cents. We're also on, it's not exactly Apple Music, is it? It's just like
Apple Podcast.
It's the podcast app. It's a standard app that's on all iPhones, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That's our other big platform. And I guess we got more coming.
Hey,
we want to expand so more people can.
Hey, well, I'm gonna do an interview with y'all in 2019 because I just want to get an update.
Okay.
We're gonna keep rolling with it, but man, I really do appreciate y'all taking all the time, man.
Sure. Thank you.
And I really wish y'all the best going into the new year.
What's good, y'all? It's Easy, E-A-Z-Y. Where are you? Easy. The letter U, E-A-Z-Y. Benefit of the Doubt Brown.
Denim down Dion Brown.
Denim down Dion.
Hey.
What's going on, y'all? Not your boy yet, soon I will be. P-U-G-O, suave like the soul. Yet again, P-U-G-O, suave like the soul. Mike Pugh. Frodo, I stay in my baggage.